Hello, everyone. This is Pal from Creating Purpose with Pal, and I welcome you to the Spanglish World Network and Her Network on Single TV channels 250 and 251. Remember to download Single TV app on the respective app stores. The app is totally free, and you can find it in Google Chromecast, in Amazon Fire TV Stick, Roku Stick, and all smart TVs from 2016 and forward. So, welcome. Today in the house, we have a very special guest. He is a neuroencoder, and he is going to be talking about, you know, middle of the year. Where are our goals at? How far are we? Are we at on our this path of 2024? So his name is Jonathan Thoms, and I give him I sent you a big hug, Jonathan. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. And for all the folks that are out there, if you haven't already, grab a pen, grab something to write on, because today is all about providing you with information and, most importantly, tools that you can take action so that you can end 2024 on top.
Yes. Grab your pen and pencil, paper, because writing, it matters. Somehow we remember better when we write it down. So let's talk about Susie, Jonathan. Susie is a mom that cares about her family, cares about a community, cares about her job, and she's been really busy playing the role of a mom, playing the role of a wife, and helping in her community. But she kind of forgot, what she wrote in January 2024 about what she wanted to get done this year. What would you tell her?
Well, the first thing I would say is, before we get to Susie, is all the moms that are out there and single dads, because, they are the backbone of society. It's a 24/7 job, and there's no salary that comes with that other than love. So I'm just acknowledged that it's greatly appreciated that the parents do what they do today. I'm lucky my kids are a little bit older, but yeah, it's a voyage for sure. So what would I do, or what would I advise Susie, is the first thing is, if you have a partner, to sit down with your partner and revisit the couple goals that you have together. Because it's great that Susie has goals, but it's also important that they have couple goals. So the couple goals are aligned and that they have agreement. And then Susie can then also share her goals, so that there is that support function that also exists within their relationship. And if that doesn't exist in the household, then I'm sure Susie has friends that she can partner with. They'll also have a sparring partner when it comes to her own personal goals. But also have goals with your children. That's really important, because that can also play a part, especially when it's like time for bed. It's like you can go back and remind them about, don't forget, we've got this goal about being healthy this year and not, being sick, 3 times instead of 5 times like we were last year.
Mm. Yeah. How do you analyze like the middle of the year?
Great question. So I literally would treat it like it's the start of the year, which is, the first thing is to sit down with a piece of paper and just brainstorm on all of those things that you've already accomplished. So if we're talking mid-year, what did I do between January and today? And that could be the smallest things. It doesn't have to be that I went to the gym 3 times a week between now and January. Did you go to the gym? Even if it was once, write it down. The smallest thing, write it down. You didn't miss a day of work. You ate a salad a week, whatever it is. Write down all those things that you did throughout the year. Because what it does is, without getting into the weeds, it sets us up mentally for the other steps that we have to take. Because after we've written all those things down, we should then literally stand up, read them, and smile while we're reading them. So there's a little bit of a science to it. I don't want to go into the detail of that and like put everyone to sleep in the science mode. But just trust me, you will feel better. And it is magnified when you stand up, smile, and read it. As if I take it, I'm holding it up, and I'm reading it and smiling. Because what that does is there's a science behind it. And you'll feel much better, and it sets you up for the next steps.
Okay. Uh, would this be considered milestones, you think, even if like if one of our goals was to be being fit or losing weight or staying healthy, like eating healthy, if we write down like I've eat healthy, like let's say 2 weeks, 2 days out of the week,
Absolutely. Write it
so
down.
we celebrate it as milestones, you think?
Absolutely. And even the days where, you were in Trader Joe's or your local supermarket and you went to pick up that box of JoJo's, which are like Oreos, and you caught yourself, it's like, no, I'm going to put them back. If you remember that moment, write it down. That's a moment to celebrate. All those little things, as well as the big, you want to write them down.
How do you personally, and what advice do you give your clients to pick up the inspiration? Let's say, well, January is over and I did really good at the beginning of the year. Now it's, we're in June and I lost, inspiration between back then and now. I still want to finish that goal. How would you advise us to pick up the inspiration to continue to finish?
I think, well, it's very much about the celebration aspect, which is why I said from the very beginning is before we even go into the other steps, set yourself up for the right mindset and the frame in your mind, because you'll get those positive juices flowing of, dopamine and those types of things, so that you're endorphin, so that you're in a positive mindset, so that then you then take the next step, which is really it's 5 steps. And the first step is really about what we call move it, see it, say it, and prove it. So literally move your body. So every day, get up and move. Play music while you're brushing your teeth, getting the kids together for school, whatever it is. But move your body. Find those moments to play that music, high energy music, so that you're dancing. Because what will happen is you start to move and shift into a positive mindset. And then when you're saying it, that's about reading the goals that you have for the day, for the week, for the year. So find those 5-10 minutes to read your goals literally every day. Because what will happen, there's some subconscious things that happen. So I'll give you an example. The 4th of July is coming up, Paola.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that most common American dish on the 4th of July?
Pie.
Exactly.
It's
an apple pie or some kind of a cake. So what happens is if you have that cake, it's usually round, or pie, it's round, and you cut your slice out. Let's say you took 25% of that pie. The other 75%, that's your subconscious. So what happens is, our consciousness is only a small part of our brain that's at work when we're focusing on something. But the idea is that when you're saying things consistently day after day, when you visualize what you want December 31st to look like at the end of the year, what happens is subconsciously, you will start to make decisions. You'll start to think in a manner that will move you slowly in that direction that drives you towards your goal. And that's really the key is controlling the subconscious. When you're not thinking about it, your subconscious is working in your favor. So step 1, move it, see it. That means say it all the time, every morning before you go to bed. Move it, say it, and then see it. Visualize yourself at the end of the year. What does it feel like if you accomplish your goals at the end of the year? Because then that is your motivation, which pulls you to December 31st and a happier place than where you are today. So that's only step 1.
Just thinking about it is like, it makes me feel excited. Like, oh, like I did it. Even though like we're still in June, but thinking of December and, goal being achieved, then that makes me feel excited because it's like, oh, I did that, and then seeing myself accomplishing the goal, that gives me the emotion. So, which is probably part of the process. So that I have the inspiration and part of the juice to continue to work on this project.
Exactly. And I'll go right back to, you're in the supermarket and you see that box of cookies. What will happen is your subconscious will tell you just to ignore it. And then what happens is you'll start to celebrate instantly, like, oh yeah, I caught myself. And you'll feel good about that. You'll get a little dopamine drip, and you'll want to do it again and again and again. And those little things that the subconscious is doing, you start to create these decisions and thoughts that are just happening where you start to have a shift, a paradigm shift that happens over time. And what develops is, because there's another part to this, and that's where you're going to write down some actions, which we'll talk about later. And that is, you'll create a paradigm shift, which creates habits.
I love that word, paradigm shift. How many of us needs to shift, and believe that it is possible,
Absolutely.
Okay. I like that. A good reminder. So move it, see it, say it, prove it. And then you said that's only the first step of 5.
That's the first step of 5. Absolutely.
What is the second step?
So the second step is literally to create that journal, to write down what it is that you want to accomplish for the year. Because we talked about, what it is that you did for the past 6 months, but what do you want December 31st to look like? And what do you feel when you envision that? What does it feel like? Write all of that down, and then basically then you figure out, like, okay, what is it that I want? What do I want my year to look like at the end? Is it about a size 3 dress? Or if it's a man, is it about a size 32 waist? Whatever it is, what does it look like? Is it about raising your credit score 100 points?
Yeah, that's funny. It's not funny, but it's like, now that you mentioned this, shifting the paradigm, what do I want? What do you really want? It really matters to ask ourselves this question whenever we are having a weak moment. Because now that you're talking about Oreos and eating, desserts, somehow I have developed a sweet tooth. And I was thinking, I was thinking of my grandma, and I'm like, I felt comfortable for a split of a second, that I was like, grandma wasn't like thin, and it's like, that means I don't have to be thin, but what do I want? Right now you're inviting us to shift that paradigm, because the way I grew up, lovely ladies in my family, I love them to death. They weren't skinny, they weren't, and they're not skinny. I love them. And I felt like, maybe that's my destination. But here it goes, like, what do I want?
Yes. The difference could be that you want to be able to crawl on the floor with your grandchildren when you're older, like grandma, or maybe grandma couldn't do that.
Yeah. Yes. So thank you. Thank you for today.
No problem. We're just getting started.
The paradigm. No, but it is true. We tend to go to what's comfort, right? It's like, I went to that stage of comfort for just a little bit, and now you brought me back to, well, what do you want?
Yes, absolutely. And what's really key, Paola, is for the listeners to ensure that they catch themselves, because unless they're working with you as a coach, which I hope they are, if they're not, I hope that they reach out to you at some point and do that, because that's really the key, is that secret sauce of neuroencoding. Because what will happen is, when a person's writing down what they want, sometimes they'll write what they don't want.
Oh, yes.
And that's not what we want, because all you're doing is manifesting what you don't want to happen again. So you have to focus on what it is you want, not what you don't want. So you can't write, I'm tired of being overweight, because then you're going to keep being overweight. You have to write, I want to have a healthy lifestyle, or I want to go into a size 6 or 2 dress. That's what you have to write. So it's really important.
It's important that what Jonathan is sharing with us right now, because at the beginning of my journey is the same. They will ask me, well, what do you want? But my mind will always go to what I did not want. Well, I don't want this, this, and that. Yeah, but what do you want? Because sometimes we feel ashamed maybe of expressing what we want because of our paradigm that we grew up with. We might think it's not possible. So
Yes.
there's a little bit of shame and embarrassment to express, well, this is what I want. Like, I don't know if any of our audience might be, thinking the same way, or might experience the situation where you might feel embarrassed to express what you want because you don't believe that it's possible, because maybe you have not seen it or have not experienced it. But it is important, it is important to write down what we really want, or at least figure it out before you write it down. It's like, what do you want?
Yes.
Like, it is possible, it is achievable, it is, it is out there for us to get it, as long as we are disciplined.
Yes.
So,
And you brought up a great point, which is a great segue, which is culture. Most of it's because of culture or experiences where we have these, but I'm not sure if I'm worthy of having that, or these types of things, right? So those things that hold us back from wanting to state what it is that we really want. So we minimize what it is that we want. But what's really key is that, because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, because we're going to have these thoughts that sneak into us. I call it silent suffering. And yes. So when these things sneak in, the next step is, once you write down what it is that you want, is why. What is your driving why? So, and I'll give you an example. My why is my daughters. And it's a bit of a sad tale, but with love, because my daughters are my world. And I don't want them to suffer in silence. And it goes back to what I grew up with, which is the environment of, I grew up in an environment where my mom was physically abused. And unfortunately, I'd come home and there's a black eye. I'd come home, there was an eviction notice on the door. I shifted schools almost like changing every time I got a new pair of shoes. It was crazy growing up. And the reality is, Paola, my mom was silently suffering with self-doubt, self-loathing, low self-esteem, overwhelm, stress, so many different things. So that held her back. That environment held her back to minimize her dreams and her wants. So my goal, my why, is that no human being should have to suffer the way my mother did. So that's why I do what I do today, which is part of why I'm here sharing this format with you. So thank you. But it ultimately goes to my daughters. I don't want them to suffer the way my mother did, but it's even bigger than that. I don't want anyone in the world to suffer the way my mother did.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So you have to have your why. Because
that will
pull you.
That will pull you forward. Like, you're like, okay, no cookie, no Oreos today.
On your dark days of doubt, the environment around you, those are the why is those are the moments when you look to your why and say, why did I want to do this? And that's what pulls you forward.
Wait a minute. Are you telling our audience that you do have dark moments at times?
Of course. Absolutely.
Okay, because we're human, right?
Absolutely. But the key is we're able to minimize them. That's the key.
Yes.
Ourselves and minimize them.
Yeah, we're able to become conscious of it, and then we get to choose. You want to be there? It's like, no, I've been there for too many times already. I know, I want to shift paradigms and go to experience the gratitude, the joy, the why of like fueling the inspiration to continue to move forward.
Yep.
So, thank you. So, step number 1. Jonathan said, move it, say it. No, move it, see it, say it, improve it. Then number 2 is figure out what do we want. Once we know what we want, you say, write it down. What does it feel like? And how does it look like? That's number 2.
Yep.
Okay.
What is your want? What is it that you want? That's number 2.
Number 3 would be our why.
Number 3 is your why.
Okay. Number 3 is our why, which is our fuel.
Yes.
In your case is, your daughters.
It's the
You wanna-
daughters and to make the world a better place. No one should have to suffer the way my mom suffered.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Because
Yes.
it's here.
Yeah.
It's here. It's all there.
And it's all within us, right? Just
Exactly.
right here, making the choice.
Yes.
Making the choice. Step number 4.
Step number 4 is, what is your plan? You got to make the plan now. And the key here is, do a little bit of homework. So this isn't like done in a day. It's done over the course of a couple of days. So what is your plan? So, and that means do some research. Who has already succeeded in those things that you want at the end of the year? Who are your role models that have been there? And then what did they do? Not what they're doing now, but what did they do then to get where they are now? Because success leaves footprints. Success leaves clues. So follow those that have already been there. Do what they've done. And I'll give you an example. Because these things, like, we hear about them, but it's like, oh yeah, that's them. But we got to do it too. That's the key. The 5 a.m. club exists. It's real. It's reality. If you're getting up at 6 o'clock and it's like, popping the coffee on, getting the kids ready for school, making breakfast, clothes, getting the clothes out of the laundry that you put in the dryer the night before you went to bed and folding them, all those things, start that at 5 o'clock for yourself. So between 5 and 6, that's your me time. What am I going to do today for me? Because you wrote those goals down, when are you going to do them? 5 a.m. is where you start to decide, this is where I do them.
I love that question. What am I going to do today for myself?
Exactly.
What am I going to do today for myself?
Yeah. So when you wake up in the morning, there's a saying, physician, heal thyself. So I only share because I do it myself, and it works. So when I wake up, I read my goals. And because what happens is they get embedded in me subconsciously, so that subconscious thoughts and actions happen without me even thinking about it, where I'm moving closer in that direction without me having to think that I need to do that. It just happens automatically over time. But you need to take that 5 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what you want. Here we go. Is like, because Susie, she kind of knows what she wants, right? But in between life happening, she lose the target of where she was heading, because she had to pick up a few things, around on the way. But whenever you, like you said, you write it down, you look at it every day, you see it, you say it, then you know exactly where you're going each day. It doesn't mean that the destination is going to be there the next day, but we're doing the 2 millimeter shift, each time we get a chance. And that is what's going to really take us to the final. And what beautiful way to enjoy it as well, right? Whenever you're looking at it and know where you want and seeing your growth. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes the black moments, black thoughts come to my mind, and it's like, oh, you have not gotten there yet. Right. But I'm like, no. But look, look all what we have done. We're better than what we were, 5 months ago. So it's beautiful to have this, habit of seeing it, saying it, proving it, working on it every day.
So, when you get on an airplane, they go through the safety thing, the seatbelt and all that. But what is one of the things they tell you about the mask? When it pops down?
You first.
You before your children. And that's the same thing. Every day, let them continue to sleep. You get up a little earlier and take care of yourself. Because if you take care of yourself, the children will actually be better off in the end.
Yeah. And it is amazing that whenever a parent, and I'm an example of it, when I hear my son, my 18-year-old, sometimes he says, Mom, I'm not going to lie, that really pivot me. I felt like, I had a pivot moment where it's like that means he didn't want to say that made me mad or I felt angry, but he used that word that it's, language matters, right? Because if he says angry, then you experience anger, but he uses that, I'm a little bit peeved. And I'm like, I enjoy those little moments. and they get to adopt it from, from the parent. As we're changing and becoming better, our kids are picking up and are watching, what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about your girls? You have a story that you could share about your girls, a proud moment?
Oh gosh, there's so many. I'll take my 17-year-old. In terms of the relationship that we have, that I think is just beautiful. I'll give you two, one for each of them, real quick. One is, so she wanted to take my car when I went on a trip for business. So I left her my car. She's like, Dad, here, I want you to know exactly where I am at all times. So she took my phone and uploaded her, her cell phone so that I could see her where she was at all times with my car. And I didn't look at all because I trust her. But just the fact that, Dad, here, I'm not doing anything crazy. Like, we have that kind of relationship. When she had a boyfriend, she called me, Dad, guess what? I got my first boyfriend. So those little things tell me, like, okay, we're in a good place. Because I know that there's parents out there where they would never know, their kids would never tell them anything that they're doing. So I feel really good about that. And then my oldest one, this is some years ago when she was younger, maybe I'm going to say 6, 7, 8 years old. I'm at work one day and she's crying on the phone and I'm nervous. I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong, Raven? She's like, Mommy and I got into an argument and I need to talk to you. And I was like, I was bawling my eyes out just because she actually pivoted to me as opposed to sitting in her room and crying in a corner. I was like, oh my God, like she sees me as a resource. So those are the things I'm proud of my daughters.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So when we, whenever we improve ourselves, our kids benefit from it.
Absolutely.
So that is beautiful. It's priceless.
Yes.
It's priceless. Proud moments. Okay, so let's go back for our beautiful audience. Step number 1, move it. See it, say it, prove it. Then number 2, write it down. What do you want? What does it make you feel? How does it look like? And number 3, why? What's the reason behind? And right here, sometimes, Jonathan, on that why, sometimes those goals get deleted because it's like, I think this is my ego speaking. And it's like, it's not worth it, and then you're able to, like, okay, remove the goal and then add another one that has a bigger why.
Absolutely.
A bigger why.
Yep. It's written on paper, not in stone. There's nothing that says you can't change or make a shift or make the goal bigger because you realize you get 2 months in and you realize, like, holy crap, I'm actually living in what I thought was going to take me forever to get to. Yeah. So then great, find another goal.
Yeah.
Yes.
And number 4, make a plan. What's your plan? Find a role model. Sometimes we don't believe because we didn't see it growing up. We don't think it's possible in our lives. Like somebody that might have $5,000 in their bank account savings, and you might be like, that no way. There is no way. Like it's within my lifetime. But it's like, no, yeah. Just figure out how they did it. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and then just follow the steps because, like Jonathan says, success leaves clues. So we can kind of see, if it worked for him or if it worked for her. Oh, I like her methodology. Like the way they got it done is easier than his. So then we go with whatever is more comfortable, and we create a plan because somebody else has done it already.
Yep.
Yeah. And number 5.
Number five is schedule it. You got to put it into your schedule. So because that's really one of the key things. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this. Great. Let me see your calendar. When are you going to do it? That's really the key. You put the soccer match in there when we're taking the kids to their soccer game. We put the dance, the gymnastics, all those things are in there. Maybe the doctor's appointments for ourselves and our kids. But what about when you're going to do that action for you? Is there a workshop that you want to attend? Is there a webinar that you want to check out? Eventbrite. If you go into Eventbrite, for example, because people have goals about finances, health, wealth, and happiness. and that umbrella covers everything. So I mentioned earlier, improving your credit score might be something for someone because they want to buy a house in the future. So one of the part of that process to buy a house is to have good credit. So, okay, go into Inventbyte and then look at what workshops are in my community that are free or just a small, a small fee that I can go to and get that time to learn about how to build my credit or to improve my credit. So but you got to put it into the calendar to make it happen and actionable. And then what's really key, part of the step 5 with the calendar piece is at some point, if it's a Sunday, a Saturday, whatever slice of time works for you, to sit and review the week and plan out the week ahead. So what did I accomplish this week that I had set out to accomplish? And then what am I planning to set out for this coming week? And start penciling those things into the calendar to do them. And it's okay if you only hit 3 out of 5. You still got 3. Whereas if you wrote it down, exactly, dance, celebrate, because if you hadn't written it down, you might have got 0 because you let life get in the way.
Yes.
Yes.
Something that came to my mind is it works for me as well. Like I learned to schedule it, and same thing with my husband. If we don't schedule a date, it doesn't happen because something else comes. We replace it for another activity. With the family or too tired or something. But if we schedule it, it's scheduled, and we kind of know. Now is like something's gonna. In the future is okay. We have to schedule it. And make it happen. Otherwise, life will continue, to happen. And if we don't write it down and be like, I'm going to do this because, benefit of our future, benefit of, the relationship, then we make it happen. So this is a beautiful habit for all of you to begin to adopt. Write it down, and make it happen because your why is going to pull you.
Yep. And when we started at the very beginning, we talked about, if it's a single parent versus a couple where they have couple goals as well as their own personal goals. This process you do together as a couple, and you can also do it for yourself. And you share, like, this is my journey, this is where I'm at, so that you share, because your biggest support should be your partner in that process throughout. You have your best friends that you can, share with as well. Maybe even do some things with them, like if it's the gym or a workshop or something. But that sparring partner that keeps you accountable, if you have that in the household, you have common goals that you share, and you take that Sunday night or whenever it is, and you do that together. And like, okay, babe, this is what we've accomplished this week or this month. What's the next week look like?
Yeah, and with the kids, sometimes I do with the kids, especially Absolutely. Now in the summer. It's like, okay, this is what's happening this week.
Yes.
And now they're aware of, what's going to be happening versus I didn't know about it. Well, now
they develop those skills themselves. So we literally set our children up to be more successful in life because they start to realize, like, oh, this is structure. And kids love structure. They know how things are going to happen, when they're going to happen. So we set them up for that in life. They're already set up for success in their lives as well, for a greater chance of success. Yeah. So Paola, I didn't mention it because it's, I said 5 steps, but throughout this process, really the secret sauce is celebration. So anything that you're doing, you need to be celebrating yourself. You need to tell yourself that you love yourself. When you see yourself in the mirror, you're amazing, because you're not going to walk into Walmart or Target and the greeter is going to say, Paola, how are you? You're amazing. We have to do it ourselves. We have to do it ourselves and celebrate.
Yes. Sometimes we forget. Yeah. Right. And it's just a good reminder, that you're worth it, that it's okay to experience the joy. It's okay to experience, the laughter, that you don't have to take life so serious. that you can have fun, and it begins with you. You're like, we make the decision
Yeah.
to smile and to shift that paradigm, like we're talking about early. I don't know, you know, how many times you celebrated when you were a kid. You said you would come home and it was a different lifestyle.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, for myself, I feel very fortunate to be where I am today. I like to say that I started, so after high school, I went into the Marine Corps. So that was my journey versus the formal education track. So I went into the Marine Corps, and when I came home, there was this big building being built. It was a typical big box retail back in the 80s, to give away my age a little bit. Big box retail. I went and applied for a job, just getting out of the Corps, and they said, well, all we have is a position as a cart, collecting shopping carts in the parking lot. And I said, is it full time? They're like, yep. I said, I'll take it. And they're like, yeah, but you're overqualified. I said, I'll take it anyway. I'll make it my own. And I did. Fast forward 25, 30 years later, with that same company, I went from pushing literally thousands and thousands of shopping carts to literally leading thousands of people around the world. Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, throughout the United States, Sweden. I've lived and worked for anywhere from 3 to 5 years, leading teams, being responsible for budgets as high as 200 million in a single year, 300-400 people at a time. So yes, but the reality is, quick story. I came home once from Saudi Arabia. I was home and visiting and sitting on the edge of the bed. And I was doing neuroencoding back then without realizing I was doing neuroencoding. And what happened was I found this piece of paper in my bedside table, folded up. And I'm like, oh, what's this? I'm doing my little cleaning up when I'm home. Like, what's this junk in the typical junk drawer, right? In the bedroom that I had beside the bed. And I opened this paper up and I literally sat on the edge of the bed and I just started to bawl my eyes out with joy, happy tears, because that list were goals of what I wanted my career to look like. And it was like, I was like, oh my God. And it's like years later, I'm finding this paper and it's like, oh my God, like that happened. I'm doing that now. Like this is, writing goals down works. It's real. You have to write things down and then visit them on a regular basis. I just happened to, squirrel this piece of paper away, but it was folded because I used to carry it in my pocket. Before I knew what neuroencoding was, I carried around my goals in my pocket.
Oh, wow.
So it works. So now, the joys of people like you in my life that are coaches, you grow exponentially when you then can master and actually harness knowing what it is. So it's also the importance of having a coach.
Yes. And sometimes it takes a while to believe in yourself, to believe that it is possible, to believe that you're capable to achieve that goal.
Absolutely.
And I think writing it down is it's part of the journey of you beginning to believe that you are worthy, that you are capable, that you can do it, that you have it within you. Sometimes it's a leap of faith, that believing that we're capable.
And visualization is so important. You have to see yourself doing it. That really is part of the cutting edge, is seeing yourself doing it. And then, I feel really fortunate having been in some different places and traveled many places where, we've got a lot of poverty in the United States. But poverty in some of the other countries around the world, it's far beyond what you can imagine. And to see that, it tells me, it's like, you know what? Regardless of what I went through growing up, I was still born in the Lucky Sperm Club. I really was. Because the proximity, just being born in the United States, gives you proximity that you don't have if you're born in the jungles of Malaysia, in Eastern Malaysia, or in the, out in the fields of the Philippines. There's just proximity of being in the United States, you have proximity to success. You really do. And I'm saying that knowing that life is not easy at all. There's people that are in really hard, tough situations. But that proximity, being in the United States, makes a difference. It really does.
You're bringing gratitude. Every time we feel grateful, it's like there is a light, a joy,
Yep.
or you're like, like waking up in the morning and just being grateful for your life.
Yes.
Like, wow, like you have 3 daughters.
If we are not in the cemetery, we've got a shot.
Yes.
You have a shot. And that's one of the things I share with my daughters. And I forget where I got it from, so I can't give them credit. But, the cure for cancer is lying in a grave because someone did not believe. Someone didn't believe in their dreams or their thoughts, their ideas, or their own self-worth. So, when I drive through or by a cemetery or a mausoleum, I don't see that as people that have passed away. I see that as those are dreams that died. And we cannot leave without fulfilling our dreams, because if we fulfill everything that we're supposed to fulfill, we make the world a better place.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And those who are watching, like, oh, wow, like he's doing it, whatever it is, even if you're, working out, is like, oh, wow, you're being an example every time you choose to go after after your goals.
Yes.
Like people are watching.
The key is that, what I mentioned, that subconscious, when I talked about the pie, you take your 25% slice and that's what you're focusing on in the moment. But the other 75%, that subconscious of your brain / pie, it's working. And when you do those things like reading your goals every day and planning, the subconscious, you start to make decisions, you start to develop habits without realizing it that move you closer to your dreams and your goals. And what a better way to command 75% of your brain when you're not even thinking about that part of the brain, or you're doing what you need to do. You're driving, taking the kids to school, or you're driving yourself to work, but your brain is focusing on what it is that you need to do to achieve your goals and move forward, because you've set up processes by building habits.
And you mentioned it early, for our beautiful audience who might not be familiar with dopamine, that's a happy hormone.
Yes.
So whenever you write down what you've done, you are releasing that dopamine because, oh, I did that. You're like, oh, I did that. To you might not be a big deal, but it's like, oh, I did that. And then you write it down and you feel that joy. Chemically speaking, biochemically speaking, that dopamine makes you happy. And serotonin is a proud hormone. So whenever you begin to see, oh, I've done this, and that, then you feel that, proud of yourself for what you have accomplished already. So then you have that, boost of dopamine and serotonin that will continue to take you to the next step of will carry you through the day, as long as we continue to practice those habits and seeing, okay, I did that, and celebrate those small moments, because it creates biochemically dopamine and serotonin.
You got it.
Yes. And one thing that came to my mind is, like, for anybody out there that might feel the victim, might feel like, I've tried everything, I done this, I done that, they feel defeated. I'm going to tell you a phrase from Les Brown. We were on a call and somebody asked him, like, well, what else do I need to do, to get to where you're at, type of question. And he said, you're going to learn to do, that skill that you want to achieve until you learn how to walk. So it's like, you have to continue to do the job until you get there, because if we watch a baby, they walk until they learn how to walk.
Yes,
so
exactly. And we don't get mad at the baby when they fall down the first 100 times that they get up and fall. Yeah. We go, oh, that's so cute. So why do we get mad at ourselves when we fail?
Yes.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Come on,
yeah.
guys.
Yeah, we'll get there when we learn how to walk.
Yes.
And it's up to us how many minutes we're going to give it a day to learn that skill that will take you to learn to walk. And another one that he said that I learned in Atlanta, uh, one of my big ones is like, you got to fight for your territory. So wherever you guys are at in your health, if you want to be healthy, you have to fight for the territory. If you want a better relationship with your kids, you have to fight for the territory. If you want a better relationship with your spouse, your significant other, you have to fight for the territory. And that means we have to put in the work.
Absolutely. Got to put in the work. It's really slicing that time in the calendar. And then, activity is so important. And, people talk about, oh, this person's lucky, that person's lucky. Well, I got news for you. When you're sitting on the sofa watching the Kardashians or Netflix, got news for you. Luck is not looking for you. But when you're taking action, luck is attracted to action. It really is. It really is. As well as people. People will come into your life, because a person might come into your life, but if you're not in the mode doing your thing on a regular basis, that you're going to have a conversation and you're going to go by. But if you are like in the mode, doing the process on a regular basis, when the person comes into your life, you're going to change the conversation. Like, you know what? We need to talk. I've just now been looking at something related to exactly what it is that you're doing. People come into your life, and the opportunities will come when you're actually taking action. Yeah.
I love it. Where can we find you? The show's almost over. There's people over here that want to learn more from you, about you. Where do we redirect them?
Well, Paola, for your team of folks that are listening, I've actually, earlier today, asked my team to turn my website back on because it's being rebuilt. I said, I don't care what condition it's in, turn it back on and make sure that there's a landing page, a link for a landing page, so that your listeners can actually, and watchers can actually go in and get exactly what we're talking about, the 5 steps. So I have a free training in my website. They can go onto my website, jonathanthoms.com. Go there. There's a link for the 5 steps to achieving your goals. They can actually, what we've covered today, they can actually then pick up as a video for themselves for free to be able to get a refresh on what we've covered today.
Thank you. Thank you. And any last minute words that you want to leave our audience with?
Just, we can't always change our environment, because the environment, plays a part, but we can change some of the people that are in our lives. And, we can't change our family because, the negative Ned that might be in our family or in our house is there. But we can have some distance from them. So, you can manage, some, and I think it was Tyler Perry that said it. Some people are in our lives for a season and others for a lifetime. So if you really want to make a shift, sometimes that means also, evaluating the people that are in your lives. And you'll start to notice them. When you hit that negative pop come at you, you're going to start to catch it. You're like, oh, no. And then you're going to have to find a place where you can manage them. Maybe they're still important in your life, so you have to find a way to manage that relationship, but keep it at a distance from your goals so that you can continue to move forward.
Yes. And remember, we're going to learn to walk till we learn to walk. So whatever you're trying, keep at it. If it's building you, if it's making you better and others, people around you better, keep going. Believe it.
No one should leave this planet with regrets of something that they didn't do.
Oh, that's a good one.
You got to make the world a better place.
Can you come back? Maybe we can talk about the toxic 10 and we can talk about how fear,
Absolutely. Silent suffering is real. And, hesitation, procrastination, fear of failure, fear of success, self-doubt, self-loathing, that's all silent suffering, toxic 10. So absolutely, we can cover one of those or all of those sometime in the future.
Yes, please come back so we can have, more educational moment by you, with you. And I appreciate your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
For all of our beautiful viewers, the show can also, you can go to my YouTube channel, Paola Guthrie. If anybody can benefit from this information, it's like share it so they get the 5 steps to begin to work on their goals. So this show can also be heard in Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Blessings, 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 and we'll see you soon. Yay.